Hi guys, so this is the opening loading sort of screen that you get once you start up the game. There was already maybe about 30 seconds before I got to this point where you click on the game to load it up, and then you get the opening scenes. Rico sitting on the beach with the sort of trying to connect online and everything. So it's probably about nearly a minute there. This opening loading part is quite long as well. It's about 30 seconds long there. But once you get past that, you get to this point. So it's pretty quick getting into there. This part is dying, loading back in after dying. So we were at like 46 seconds here. So we're going to see how long it takes to load back into the game. So it's already been 10 seconds. I'm trying to remember what it was compared to other games like Grand Theft Auto and that, but I don't ever remember it being this long. I remember the first loading screen when logging into the game, like loading it first time. You'd have to load up for a couple of minutes and you'd get all these kind of loading screens, but I don't remember it ever taking this long, or even like when dying. I thought it was maybe about 10-15 seconds or something, but we're already at about 30 seconds now for just this loading back in after dying. So let's see. So that's 50 seconds. So we're at a minute now. And I think, anything more than about 20 seconds is kind of bit too much, considering where you're going to really spawn back. Where I died, I'm pretty close on the map. I'm in the first area of the game, so I should be able to spawn back pretty quick, because I haven't got to go from one side of the map to the other, so it shouldn't take as long as this really. We're well over a minute now. We're nearly at 2 minutes. It's about 1 minute 30 or so now. So it's about 1 minute 30 to get back in. Now I'm going to do one of these challenge missions, Helicopter Frenzy 1, and just see how long this takes. This is ridiculous. We're right next to where we're going to be doing the mission anyway. All that really needs to happen is you take over this base normally anyway, and once you take it over, so it starts now 2:56. You take over the base, and then you unlock these challenges around the base, these extra little mission bits. So really, all that needs to happen is for the assets to reload back in, the things that you've destroyed, which isn't many, because it's like the buildings don't really get destroyed. It's only like the fuel tanks, the turbines, the main reactor thing. So there's not a whole lot that needs to reload really. I don't think the enemies are there. We'll see in a sec, or in a minute or so. I don't think there's any enemies there. I think all that gets the rebels get removed from the area, and it's just the assets that you destroyed when taking over the base that respawn. So really, it shouldn't take too long. We're right next to that area as it is, so that's all already loaded into the game. So all that needs to be reloaded is just the things that you've destroyed, and already it's like over a minute for this loading. This is just really kind of, I'd say, unacceptable for a game, considering it's all installed onto your PlayStation 4 as it is. So it's not got not got to load it off of a disc or anything like that. It's not got to find it off of a disc. It's already pre-installed onto the PlayStation 4 anyway. So really, 20 seconds, if that, it should be to load this in. But we're well over a minute, about a minute and a half or so, and it still hasn't loaded. I haven't had any of the other problems that people have had though, I must admit. Reading a lot before I actually bought the game, I read some of the reviews and that about the frame rates dipping and weird glitches. I've had a couple of glitches where there's been people in the streets and stuff playing instruments, and they don't have the instruments in their hands, and it looks a bit weird. The enemy AI is a little bit off sometimes. Sometimes like you're looking for one of the enemies and he's running up against a wall. Um, that's happened a couple of times. Other than that, like pretty much everything else has been okay, and there's not really been any major frame rate issues or anything. It's just these load times. If they can get these load times like sorted, and not even half it, they need to like get it down by like about 90%, because this is like crazy loading time. So as you see, that's probably about a couple of minutes there just to load this one bit. And as you'll see, like I'm gonna get in this helicopter now, and I'm right next to where I need to be anyway. I was already there. So all of this area is already loaded into the game. All it needed was just these assets that you need to destroy reloaded, which you've already destroyed. So there's just these fuel tanks. There's no enemies around. It's just fuel tanks and turbines and the satellite dishes on the top. But that's it. There's not a whole lot that the game needed to reload in. If anything, it's just reloading what was already there anyway, just minus any enemies. So all it needed, just take the rebels out and reload what was already there. And surely that shouldn't take more than 2 minutes. That should be like 10-20 seconds. So if they can sort this part of the game out, then I think it'll be a really good game, because it is a lot of fun. Like just going around destroying things. The sound effects is really good for explosions. The explosions and everything look really nice. The graphics are not as nice as I thought they were going to be, to be honest. It looks a bit like the Just Cause 2 graphics, maybe slightly better, but then looking at the size of the map is absolutely massive. So I think if they'd have upped the graphics any more than this, I just don't think the game would have run at all, because of how big the maps are, how much has got to load in. You'd just be getting constant pop in and stuff. But I haven't really had any of that. I haven't had any pop in or anything, and the draw distances are really long. You can see things right over in the distance. Like I say, I don't really have any frame rate issues or anything like that, and even in this area, this is the first big area that I've been to with a lot of explosions going off at the same time. This bit where I'm going over now, in the top corner there's quite a few tanks over there, and I destroyed one, and it did like a chain effect, and it was going from one to the other, and there was quite a few enemies there, and I didn't notice any frame rate issues there. And I know that people have been saying it about when the action gets really busy and stuff, that the frame rate dips quite a lot, but I haven't really noticed. If it has dipped, it's probably only gone down a couple of frames, because literally I haven't noticed it going to like a slideshow. But then I'm only in the first couple of hours of the game, so maybe once we get further along and maybe in bigger areas with more going on, maybe it will dip a little bit. So maybe that's another thing they need to fix. But for me right now, the load times is what's kind of killing the immersion into this game, because it's just taking way too long. So now we're going to go for another load screen. I think this one was a bit quicker though. This one's at 8 minutes 30. This one starts. Let's see how long this one goes on for. But it's just way too long. I mean, look, it's already been 15 seconds now, and I'd say that's like 20 seconds is where it should be at the most, because the longer you're waiting around, it's just taking you out of the game and just making you watch these load screens. Alright, they're a bit helpful and stuff, but only in the beginning for the first hour or so. Once you've seen every single one of these load screens and you're a few hours into the game and you know how everything works, it's like a pointless kind of thing. You don't really want to be seeing that all the time, especially if you just want to play. And I don't know if later on you're going to be dying a lot more often and stuff, in quite quick successions and that. I don't know how difficult the game gets later on. I've tried to not like watch any spoilers or anything like that, so I don't know like about the frame rate issues later on in the game and stuff. But I can only go by what I've seen so far, and I haven't really had many problems. Just these load screens. They're just annoying, because it's 1 minute 15 seconds now, and I don't understand why we need a load screen really afterwards, because all that's going to happen now is after this load screen we're kind of back where we was before, next to in that area where you pick up this mission, and the rebels have just loaded back in. So all they need to do now is everything's destroyed back in the area now, or most of it. I've destroyed most of it. They just need to just remove the last little bits that should be destroyed that I'd done in the previous mission, and then just load the rebels in, or just have them just like reappear over like a matter of 10-15 seconds while the game is like going, just like it does when you actually take over one of these areas anyway. They just kind of slowly appear in the area, like pull up in cars or whatever, or just load in. I don't understand why you need such a big load screen. Anyway guys, thanks for watching, bye.